Alright, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing another Q&A video answer segment type of video leading up to The Walking Dead Season 6. This one will be part 19. Okay, and as always, spoiler warning if you're not caught up on The Walking Dead. You guys know the drill. You know how it works at this point. I sure hope you do after, 19 already this year. So definitely setting a record for the amount I've done so far in between a season with already 19 Q&As. So keep sending me your guys' questions. You guys know what to do. Keep doing your thing because I do appreciate you guys sending them all to me so that I have things to talk about, I may get back into doing some more of the, individual topic type videos where we're not really doing like Q&As or anything like that, but I've got a couple more trades to finish with you guys, and I will finish them, the final, and then I've got these two and then the next two that are on their way. So heads up for that, people who are enjoying the reviews of the comic book series of the trades, or people who want to know the storyline past where the Walking Dead TV series is currently at. So heads up for those. Those will be coming pretty soon, guys, within the next couple days, and I'll get caught up with those, and then maybe we can do some predictions for what's going to happen next in the comic book series, and hopefully we'll get some new stuff for Fear the Walking Dead. People have been requesting for me to do some Fear the Walking Dead videos, like maybe a Q&A for it, that kind of thing, and I do want to do that, so send me whatever questions you guys have for Fear the Walking Dead specifically, and hopefully I can put together enough for a video, because they haven't released too much since that production video. So let's get into a few of your guys' questions. First one is from rockmanted, and he says, "Hey Trev, how about a video on your thoughts on what % of the human race is still alive at current time in Walking Dead? When Rick talked to the prisoners early in Season 3, he said something like maybe half of all humans are gone, maybe more. I figured it was more like 90% of the pre-apocalypse population or more at that point. It would be more like 95% by the end of Season 5. Your thoughts?" Oh, man, it's going to be above that. I would say way above that. Let's look. Okay, so the population of the United States is 318.9, so 319 million. Let's just round up, according to Google. So, that's a lot of people. So let's just focus on the States, because worldwide's probably about the same, but just in the U.S., based on who we see in the show and how they will go distances and they won't find almost anybody, at this point, a couple years into the zombie apocalypse, I would say almost nobody is still alive. Like, there is such a small percentage of the population in the entire United States out of 320 million. How many do you guys think are left, alive? I would probably say, he says 95%. Oh, it's way less than that, man. It's in terms of those surviving, because that would leave 5% human and 95% zombies or deceased, totally dead. It's got to be lower than 5%, man. It's less than 1%. I would say it's probably like, out of 320 million, probably like less than 100,000, maybe like, I think that makes sense. Like maybe like 40 or 50,000, right? People, then that's it. Maybe less. Maybe less. Because think about it, like in terms of characters we see and who's surviving. Yeah, we found this group or of course our group from Atlanta, King County, and then they go and we're close to Washington, that Virginia, and we do see a few survivors. But if you think about how many people are out there, it's really going to be low. I mean, it's going to be really, really low. Probably like, 50,000, 100,000. That's about it. So definitely less than 1%. 99 point, probably 9 or 99 point. You can do the math. The percentage is going to be really, really low of humans that are, still alive. Probably only like 50,000 for the whole United States out of 320 million. I would say that's my guesstimate, or my idea of a couple years into the zombie apocalypse in The Walking Dead, how many people are actually left alive. Because we just don't run into many that often. You just don't see that many survivors all that often. There's groups like, of course, right now in the Walking Dead TV series, Alexandria, the Wolves in that, and there's some other small, communities, but their numbers are in the, not even in the hundreds. We're talking like, dozens, 50, maybe the biggest community would be probably Alexandria we've been in yet, or at the prison when they had a lot more survivors back in, earlier seasons, like after the end of season 3, they had a large number. But most of the communities are going to be really small, and compared to how many people are actually out there, compared to how many zombies, it'd be way less than 1%. Just my thoughts. So almost nobody. Let me know what you guys think about that, though. It's an interesting, topic. So write your opinion below. But I would say hardly anyone. Next one is from Phalvesaurus. And he says, I wish they would do a slightly faster pace with 13 episodes so we get the exact same stuff just without the boring scenes. That's a good point, man. Is that, but some seasons, like, you're right. If you look at The Walking Dead, I do think 16 episodes is a lot. And I remember ever since they started doing 16, there always seems to be a bit of a lull in the second half. Around near about the beginning of the second half or halfway through the second half, it seems like they start to kind of have some really slower stuff. But it depends on the season. Every season's different, and I'm happy with 16 episodes. Even if some of them are a little bit slower, you have some slower parts in them. It's a lot to do. 16 episodes is a lot of episodes of a show to be done at that high quality. If you look at some of the CW stuff with like Flash and Arrow and that, and a lot of shows, they'll do like 22 episodes, but the quality is, oh man. Not that those shows are bad. There's a lot of people love Flash, love Arrow, but the cheese, man, and it's like, I swear, some of these episodes, they must throw together in like one day. Like they must be done filming in like half a day for the whole episode. Because it just looks like it's so, I don't know, man. Some of them, when you get into the high number of episodes, you reduce quality a lot of times. And that's one thing that, you do kind of have to be careful about. A lot of people love HBO because they do like 10 episodes of Game of Thrones. And they're all like super high quality, but those are long episodes. So it's like, to be honest, 10 episodes of Game of Thrones at 55 to 60 minutes each is almost as much as 15 episodes of The Walking Dead. In season 5, of course, we got the 90-minute episode at the end, so that made it like 16 and a half episodes, which was sweet, man. So, for me, I enjoy it all. I like it all, but you're right, there are some slower parts, and there kind of have to be, when you do that much in terms of timing. Definitely the Walking Dead comic book series has hardly any slower parts. But there's so much they have to do, and they have a lot of things planned out, and in between there's going to be a few slow parts and that kind of thing. But it's not a bad thing, because that's what builds up our care for the characters, gets us caring about the characters, and also can introduce us to new characters and make us care for new characters, such as Bob, and some of the others that he kind of just came in out of nowhere, and with a few good concentration sequences, we really cared about him by the time season 4 rolled around, and what happened to him was really brutal. So it's not a bad thing too that we do have that, but sometimes you just get some stuff like Still or Them where like nothing happens hardly at all. Or very, very little happens, and the episode just feels drawn out. But you're right; that would be cool if they could do that. But then if they could do 16 and have it, maybe add in some extra content so you don't get the slow parts. But that's hard to do, and they'll end up burning through the comic book series too fast, right? So we kind of have to have those slow parts. I explained that in the catch-up video I did last week, so we won't go over that anymore. Next one's from 101 Mythbusters, and he says, Q&A, hey Trev, quick question. Do you think anyone will ever say the word zombie in the TV series? Yeah, if it goes on enough seasons, it'll probably sneak in there somewhere. But I think it's taboo. Like, I know Kirkman absolutely hates the idea. I don't know why. If you watch the early interviews about the Walking Dead TV series, he was very adamant that the concept of what a zombie is does not exist in The Walking Dead. So, they couldn't go to a Blockbuster or a movie. Do those even exist anymore? They couldn't go to a movie rental store and, rent like Night of the Living Dead, which was one of Frank Darabont's ideas that Kirkman was like, no, you can't do that. Because to the survivors in The Walking Dead, zombies don't exist. That concept doesn't exist in fiction. So that's what it is. So, but if Kirkman has anything to do with it, probably never. But I think it might slip through at some point because he's busy, man. He's got other stuff he's working on and that. And they did have the Bub zombie, didn't they? And what was it, season 4? So they've done little nods and stuff like that they at the beginning said like they would never do, So pretty cool. But yeah, if Kirkman has his way, probably never. But I think eventually it might sneak in there somewhere. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I wouldn't be surprised also if they never do, because according to him, he never wants them to. I'm just thinking that there might be a miscommunication at some point in time, and they may call him something like that. But that'd be a pretty big slip up, and we'll see. It's usually they put a lot of quality, a lot of care into the show. Next one's from, let me see how much time we're at here. Okay, so it's 10 minutes, not bad. Next one's from Josh Beatty, and he says, Q&A. Who do you think will play Negan? I think Patrick Warburton would be perfect for the role of Negan. P.S. Negan is my favorite villain from the comics. He's my favorite villain from the comic books, too. Even more than the Governor, for sure. Especially after reading these trades again and reviewing them with you guys, man. So funny, so awesome. So he didn't ask me who I want to. He said, who do I think? Kevin Durant was rumored, and then John Hamm is somebody that they've interviewed and talked about. Plus, Mad Men is ending soon, so that would be a pretty. And he's also, of course, an AMC guy. So I would say most likely it'd probably be either of them, but it could be anybody. They could just find whoever. And I've talked about who I want to play, the role. Bruce Campbell, I think, is the best I've heard from anybody suggest. Oh, it should be this person. He's, him or, there's lots of others. Like he mentions Patrick Warburton here. But I just think, man, Bruce Campbell, of course, they're doing another TV series for, the series he did with Sam Raimi. Wow, I'm drawing a blank for some reason. But, Living Dead or Evil Dead. There we go. Wow, sometimes on video I can't remember things for some reason. Evil Dead. So they're doing another Evil Dead series with Bruce Campbell. So, but I think that's just a match made in heaven, man. If they could get him to do it, but again with Kirkman, he doesn't want. He wants it to be self-contained. He doesn't want it to have any kind of nods or anything. So maybe he wouldn't want Bruce Campbell for it because of that. But he would just be perfect, man. I mean, wouldn't he be the best? Like David Morrissey was awesome, but if they could get Bruce Campbell or somebody like that to play Negan, that would just be, man, that would be huge. Like that would be for Dead fans that have been watching zombie movies for a long time. That would just be a match made in heaven. So that's my ultimate pick. But yeah, there's others too we've talked about in the past for too. I won't get into it too much. Colin Vamp asks, if you were a producer on The Walking Dead, what kind of villain would you create next? And I'll keep this one as the last question for this one. I'll save the rest for later. So if I could create a villain, what kind of villain, or what would I do with it if I could create my own villain for the TV series? That would be sweet. Okay, so here's what I would do. There's a couple different kinds. We haven't seen we've seen kind of like a cult with the with Terminus and the Hunters, but we haven't seen like a cult leader, like a religious cult leader. They did something like that in Zombieland, or no. Wow, I'm tired for some reason. Anyway, lost my train of thought there, but to see like a cult would be pretty cool, I think. I think that's a good idea for a zombie apocalypse, and that if they were really devoted and really crazy and really sick and twisted, that they could be characters that could survive for a very, very long time. Have some kind of crazy cult leader. I almost felt like Negan and the Saviors were that for a bit, but then they ended up being more like a biker gang type deal. But to see like a really crazy, dark cult would be a cool group of villains and really scary. Doing maybe some sacrifices and just rituals and crazy stuff like that. Would be cool. Maybe keep some zombies as pets and that kind of thing to maybe do the Michonne thing with them or keep them around and use them. Just some kind of like cult thing would be really, really scary. Also, I'd like to see a military group. Because we've seen a military group before with the governor where he attacks those guys, but that's like a small group. And, military officers and stuff, they'd have bunkers, right? So a couple years into a zombie apocalypse, it makes sense you could have some military people stationed at, a particular base or something somewhere, and have gone underground for a long time and eventually ran out of food and are now coming up to the surface and going out and doing what they have to do. And I just think a group of crazy kind of military psychos would be a cool group to see. But I would do it like this. I would have the group. Let's say you've got like about a dozen or something like that. military people, and I would have one leader who's a good guy, and then I would show them as like a flashback sequence to what they went through in a bunker or that kind of thing, and then after they got out, I would have the good leader be killed by one of his underlings, who would then take control of the group, and that's how the group would become like an evil group. Is that you would have a good sergeant type leader, but then he would be killed off by one of his own guys, and then that guy would take over and would be a villain, and that could be how we could see a villain type group that Rick and the survivors could fight against. Plus military, I mean, you've got training, right? They're really tough, and they would have probably a lot of firearms and a lot of firepower, because if they're under a bunker, they don't need to use it. Then they finally come up and they're going out and doing whatever they're going to do. And that would just be a cool group for villains. So I'd go with either cult or military group, because we haven't seen anything like that yet, and I think that would be cool. So that's what I would choose for a group of villains to see. But again, you got to show their backstory. You got to build up to it. So you'd have to have, like, you wouldn't have to do the season 3 thing where you give them a whole episode, but you would. I think you should kind of put it here and there at the beginning of like a season or a season half to show how they got to be where they are. And that would be, I think that'd be interesting. So anyway, that's what I would probably do. Those are kind of my ideas. We haven't seen a mad scientist type deal yet either in the Walking Dead TV series, so that'd be kind of cool too. But yeah, that's what I would go with. So anyway, that's it for today. I'll keep it there for you guys. Don't want to go on too long with the Q&A. Sometimes I go on way too long. Let me know what you think. If you could create a villain, it's a great question for The Walking Dead. What kind of villain would you create? What kind of group would you do? What do you think would be interesting, evil, and would be a good group of antagonists to fight against Rick and the survivors? So rate your comments below, guys. Rate your answers to these different questions below. Keep sending me in private messages through YouTube your questions. And if you like the video, please thumb it up below. If you want to support the channel, please share it, please favorite it. And if you're new and you want to subscribe, you want to see more from me on almost a daily basis, go ahead and subscribe at the bottom left. That's it for this one. I'll see you guys pretty soon for another. As always, it's Trev, and I'm saying peace later, guys. See ya.